So I wanted to start this evening off with a question. Have you ever felt like you're watching everyone around you, friends, family members, find love and connection with ease while you feel kind of like you're stuck on the sidelines? Or even do you wish you knew how to navigate the dating world with full confidence in yourself? So if this sounds like you, or if you're the guardian of someone who feels this way, today's workshop should be super helpful to you. So in this presentation, I'm going to share some practical strategies and tips to help young adults like yourself overcome some common challenges that you might face while dating. Then in the second half of my presentation, I'll shift gears and provide some strategies for parents to help them support their adult children with autism in dating in a non-intrusive manner, because we really want to encourage as much independence as possible here. And of course, that looks a little different for each family. So whether you're an autistic adult or supporting your loved one as they date, I encourage you to stay tuned for the entire workshop because there will be a lot of valuable information in both parts. Also, we'll have a brief Q&A, as was mentioned at the end of this. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to write them in the comments and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of this. So my name is Victoria Bennett. I'm the founder of Victoria's Educational Services, and I have my master's degree in teaching students with disabilities. And the goal of my company is to help individuals of all ages to reach their social and academic goals. So we provide things like tutoring, social groups for preteens, teens, and young adults, and of course, a dating program to help young adults confidently navigate the world of dating. And stay tuned at the end because I have a special announcement about our dating program that could benefit you or your loved one. So, in the time that I've been teaching my dating workshop, I've witnessed some really incredible transformations from our participants. So, through applying the strategies, some of which we'll discuss today, and others that I've taught in my workshop, many have grown in confidence, and some have even boldly stepped into their first relationship ever. So, many of my students have shared with me some of these newfound abilities to initiate and maintain conversations, which really transform their social interactions and dating experiences. So, just for an example, one of my students, after applying a lot of the communication strategies from my dating workshop, he went from feeling nervous and unsure in social settings to confidently engaging in conversations and eventually asking someone out on a date for the first time. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to have similar results. So I've been teaching the dating workshop for about a year and a half now. And during this time, I have created over 50 different lessons on all sorts of topics to help young adults with their dating lives. And I received a lot of great feedback from the parents and students who have told me, boosting their confidence has really helped them in these dating situations in their lives. So, because I've covered such a variety of topics, choosing the right ones for tonight wasn't super easy, especially because we don't have a lot of time. So, in my workshop, we do go over both foundational skills that are useful in all sorts of social situations, as well as topics that are more specific to dating, like how do you ask someone out? How do you ask for someone's phone number appropriately? But for this presentation, I decided to focus on the foundational skills. So I think that these are really important because they lay a good base for other dating skills. So it's kind of like building blocks, and we really want to build up a foundation before going up to the next level. So when you feel confident and when you know how to communicate with people well, you tend to find it easier to use the other dating tips that I teach, like asking someone out. So I've seen this approach work really well in my workshops, and that's why I wanted to share that with you tonight. So for young adults with autism, you will walk away from this presentation with an understanding of common challenges that you might face, in dating and how to overcome them, the importance of self confidence in dating, along with strategies that you can use at home to build up your self confidence, the importance of effective communication in dating, and again, another strategy that you can use at home to build up that skill, and ways that you can build meaningful connections with people. So, before we dive into this, I encourage you to have a notebook or a pen and paper with you during this workshop so that you can write down anything that resonates with you. And then you can look back at it later on. So I'll also be asking some reflective questions during this presentation that you may want to respond to on paper or in your head. So let's start by defining what dating is and isn't. So dating involves spending time with someone to get to know them better, with a mutual interest of exploring a romantic connection. And it often involves developing an emotional connection, of course. Dating is not just a physical relationship. Emotional and intellectual connections are also important. It is not a one sided effort, and it does not mean losing your independence or your individuality. So, and it's also important to note that dating does not always lead to a long term relationship, as some of you may know. And sometimes it's a way to understand what you're looking for in a partner, and dating can really give you that clarity. So now that we know what dating is and isn't, our next step is to consider your why for dating. So for some people, dating is for fun. For others, it's with the goal of marriage in mind. Or it could just be about finding someone that you connect with and want to share your life with. So I want you to just take a moment to think about or just write down briefly your why for dating. And it's also important to realize that many people have different reasons for wanting to date, which is completely fine. So now that you've taken a minute to think about your reasons for wanting to date, and I see some are sharing in the comments, thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so now that you've taken a minute to think about the reasons you want to date, let's look at some of the benefits that come along with dating. So these benefits include things like learning more about yourself, right, which allows you to grow as a person, learning new things from people you date, feeling more connected to others, learning how to navigate social situations, increasing your confidence, and of course, dating could lead to finding your forever partner, if that's one of your dating goals, of course. I had a student, I want to share this with you. I had a student named Nick who attended my dating workshop last year. He took everything that he learned in the workshop and he applied it outside of the dating workshop as well, right? So he took these strategies and incorporated them into his life. And one day he attended a speed dating event that I was hosting for young adults with autism and other disabilities. And he actually received a friendship match and he started spending some time with his match. So they would do things like go out to eat, go to the movies, things of that nature. And they wound up developing a great friendship, a great relationship. And now they're actually dating. So Nick now has his first real relationship. And his mother sent me photos of him and his girlfriend, and I can't express how happy they look on their dates and spending time with each other. And that special connection with someone, I would say, is really priceless. It's an amazing feeling, and that's something that Nick would not have found if he didn't put himself out there to date. So I would say the happiness that you get from forming a meaningful connection, just like Nick did, is another huge benefit of dating. And of course, although there are many benefits to dating, there are also some challenges that you may encounter as an autistic young adult navigating this world of dating that can be a little bit overwhelming or confusing. So it's important to be aware of these challenges because this will allow you to be proactive and be well equipped to handle the challenges as you face them. So many of my past workshop students have shared with me that they struggled with things like starting a conversation with someone that they were interested in, or even just maintaining a conversation and knowing what to say. They expressed that they struggled with a lack of confidence, right? Feeling shy, a little withdrawn because they didn't really know how to navigate these situations. Um, they struggled with knowing if someone likes them, and they shared with me that they didn't know how to ask someone out on a date or ask for their phone number. So I want you to just take a moment and think about some of the challenges, and you can even share in the comments if you'd like. Some of the challenges that you may have faced in dating if you have experience with dating so far. So, what was something that was tricky for you personally? Um, Trying to maybe talk to someone you like or thinking of what to say. And the reason I ask this question is by being aware of your reasons for wanting to date and reflecting on past challenges or challenges that you may encounter in the future, this will help you be more self aware and more self accepting of yourself in dating. And self awareness is really important because that's how you grow and that's how you improve. If you're not aware of your goals, your reasons for wanting to date, and potential challenges that you might face, it'll be a lot more difficult to navigate the dating world with confidence, right? And feeling prepared. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to feel confident and prepared. And it may feel defeating instead of like an opportunity for growth and connection. Um, Also, knowing this ahead of time, those challenges that you may face, will help you to um, build up your self acceptance, and this really ties into your self esteem as well. Um, and this really brings us to our next topic for tonight, which is self confidence, why it's important in dating, and the strategy that you can try at home as soon as tonight to improve your self confidence. So, take a minute. You could do this in your head if you want, to rate your current level of self confidence. So you can do this in your head on a sheet of paper. And I want you to use a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, right? Just really not a lot of self confidence. And 10 being you're fully confident in yourself. You don't need any work with it. So take a moment. You can share it if you're comfortable doing so, or you can just keep it in your head and think about that for a moment. Okay. So now think about this. Do you think that self confidence is something that you either have or don't have? Or do you think it's something that you can practice? Do you think it's something that you can improve over time? So the good news is you can, and some people are saying this in the comments, you can practice it, right? Just like you can practice a sport or an art form to get better at it, you can also practice improving your self confidence. And that doesn't mean it'll be easy, it doesn't mean it'll happen overnight, but it will be worth it if you stick to it. And it can really be life changing um, to build up your self confidence because that ties into all areas of your life, right? Dating, friendships, work, things like that. And I can use a personal example to tie into the self confidence talk. So when I was growing up, and especially by the time I was in high school, my level of self confidence was very low. So if you had given me that survey, I would have probably put maybe a three or four, the highest, right? So I usually felt like almost like an outsider looking in. And I felt like everyone else is born just feeling confident and that I just wasn't born that way. And it just wasn't me and it would never be me. And I really believe that. And of course, I know now I was wrong at that time, and I just didn't know it yet. So this feeling, right, this low confidence in myself stopped me from putting myself out there and trying to make friends, which further wound up decreasing my confidence over the years in high school. And when I went away to college, I went upstate. I was about 4 hours from home. I was put in new situations that I had to navigate independently. And with each year, I slowly became more confident in myself. And I would say my self confidence was still pretty low, but it was definitely higher than it had been in the past. And after I graduated college, I became determined to improve my self confidence. Now that I knew it was possible, um, I really felt like it was something I could continue working on, right? Because I did notice that difference in my confidence compared to how I used to feel in high school. So I came across a definition one day that said self confidence is trusting yourself. So it means you trust yourself to figure out how to deal with different situations. And people with high levels of self confidence are more likely to move forward with people and opportunities and put themselves out there and take risks than people with lower self confidence who are more likely to avoid these situations. It also means that if things don't work out the first time, people with high self confidence are more likely to try again compared to someone with low self confidence who may try something once and maybe give up thinking that it's just not something they can do. And this directly ties into dating, of course. If you work to build up your self confidence, you'll be more likely to attract a healthy and a happy relationship. You'll also be able to move on if a date doesn't work out well instead of kind of internalizing it and being hard on yourself. So, now that we understand the importance of self confidence, I want to share a strategy that I use in my workshop to help people build up their confidence. So, if you rated yourself lower on that scale, make sure you pay attention to this. You can take notes if you'd like, so you can practice this again and again and really build up your confidence. So, this strategy, and you may have heard it before, it's called using positive self talk. So this is one I personally used in my life, and I continue to share this with my students, and I really see great results from this strategy. So positive self-talk involves being aware of your internal dialogue and consciously, so you have to be really thinking about it, shifting from negative or critical thoughts to more positive and more supportive thoughts. For example, if you're going to a party, some type of social meetup, and you have a negative self thought, such as, I'm too awkward for this, or I'm going to embarrass myself, notice that negative thought. You have to catch the thought first. You have to realize you're doing it, and then reframe it. And an example of reframing a negative thought is taking "I'm too awkward for this" and turning it into "everyone feels awkward sometimes. I'm going to be fine. I trust myself to handle the situation." So it's just a simple switch of rewording it so that your brain is thinking more positively about yourself. So this is just an easy example of doing it. And if you do this consistently, meaning anytime you catch one of those negative thoughts, and again, you have to be paying attention to it, you have to try to catch them because it comes so naturally to a lot of us to have those negative thoughts. Make sure you're paying attention to it, you catch it, and you reframe it. And it can really rewire your brain to think more positively about yourself. And this is what increases your self confidence. So I really want you to try this at home. So you can try this alone, or you can ask a loved one, maybe a sibling, a parent, a cousin, a friend for support. So maybe anytime you catch a negative thought, you catch it and you reframe it. And if you want, you can partner with someone at home who can hold you accountable. So maybe if you say out loud, maybe you break a dish or something and you say, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that again," right? Your loved one can gently point out to you your negative thought that you just said out loud about yourself, especially if you don't notice that you're saying it. And they can ask you how you can reframe it. For example, everyone makes mistakes. I'll just clean it up. It's fine. So remember, just like anything else, you will not improve unless you take action and you practice. So try your best to use this strategy in your daily life if you want to improve your confidence. Um, and I really, really encourage it. Um, you'll be pretty much just more likely to put yourself out there if you feel more confident, and you will be more likely to use dating strategies that you might learn online or from parents, friends, or other resources, like a dating program. And now that we talked a little bit about self confidence, and how that relates to dating and how you can build it up, let's move on to another big foundational skill in dating, and this is effective communication. So, effective communication is when a message, which can be verbal, nonverbal, or both, is delivered to a person or a group, and the desired result of that message is successfully achieved. That's the definition of effective communication. And some young adults may struggle with aspects of effective communication. And I'll give some examples, but remember, of course, we know autism is a spectrum, so these examples may not apply to you, but these are some general examples. So some people might struggle with not picking up on body language, facial expressions, tone of voice that shows if someone's interested or not in the conversation. They might also struggle to articulate their feelings clearly. They might have difficulty responding to the emotional states of others, or even just have trouble with the back and forth of conversations, right? Maybe sharing too much or not talking enough, right? These can be those tricky social nuances that affect communication. So I want you to just take a moment, and again, you can share it in the comments if you're comfortable, to share maybe a way or two that you struggle with effective communication. Um, and remember, being aware of the areas that you struggle in is a great way to set goals and to help you improve those skills. So now that we talked a little bit about how important effective communication is, I do want to share a strategy that you can use at home to build up your communication skills. And this one's really important. I teach this in my workshop a lot. So, active listening, you may have heard of it before. It is a way of listening and responding to another person that improves a mutual understanding of each other. And this involves giving the speaker your full attention, paying attention to their tone and their body language, and trying your best to comprehend what the speaker is saying and feeling, either verbally or non verbally, such as just nodding your head or saying, "Oh, I see," or "I understand," or "Right." This strategy might sound a little abstract, a little complicated at first, but once you learn how to use it, it can greatly enhance communication effectiveness. It can build trust and it can improve the quality of your relationships. So again, I teach this in my dating workshop, and this might look different for everyone depending on your specific circumstances. Because again, we know autism is a spectrum. So active listening might be easier for some than others. Some people's bodies don't cooperate as much, right? So it might make it a little harder to show you're listening with your body language, and that's fine. We really want you to take these strategies and adapt them to work for you. So here's how you can practice this at home. You can find someone that you trust and you're comfortable with. So this can again be a loved one, a close friend, and you want to role play active listening. To do this, you'll take turns being the speaker and the listener. The listener's job is to focus on understanding the speaker's message and their feelings. So usually what I do is I'll set a timer, usually for about 2 minutes for people who are first practicing this, um, to let the speaker know how long to talk for, and the listener will practice active listening for those 2 minutes. And then you would just kind of discuss after the timer goes off, you can discuss what parts of active listening were easy for you and what you want to improve next time. So, and then of course, you switch roles after that. And this role playing activity allows you to practice giving your full attention, recognizing these nonverbal cues, and responding appropriately to them. And this could take your communication skills to the next level. I've seen it work really well with my own students. And to really make sure I'm helping you develop this active listening skill, I created a free PDF that goes into detail about the exact steps that you can take to practice this in your own home. And this will be emailed to everyone who registered as soon as the presentation ends. Okay, so keep an eye out for that email because it's a really helpful resource that I hope you take advantage of and practice at home. So knowing how to use the active listening strategy will really just make you feel more confident on dates, more prepared to navigate conversations with your date. And it'll leave a good impression because it helps people feel heard and understood. And speaking of feeling heard and understood, this kind of segues into our next topic, which is creating meaningful connections. And a meaningful connection is in dating, it's when two people feel a special bond that's more than just liking each other. So they understand each other really well. They share important things like beliefs or hobbies, and they care deeply about how the other person feels. It's about feeling close and trusting each other. And maybe this is something you've experienced before, maybe you haven't yet, and maybe it's something that you want to work towards. And it's important to note that this type of connection, it doesn't happen instantly. It's not just about being in a relationship, it's about nurturing that relationship. So we can kind of think of it like if you were growing a plant, right? You make sure you tend to it regularly. You make sure there's water and sunlight and good soil, right? So similarly, a meaningful connection in dating grows from spending quality time together, from actively listening to each other, and from being open about your feelings and your experiences. And for young adults with autism, forming these connections might be different, and that's absolutely okay, right? They could look a little different, and that's fine. It's important to really be true to yourself, to seek someone who appreciates you and who understands you for who you are. So we're not changing ourselves to impress someone else. A meaningful connection means being comfortable with each other and where you can be yourself without feeling judged. The student I mentioned earlier, Nick, was able to establish a meaningful connection with his now first girlfriend through spending time together and by finding things that they can do together that they both enjoy. And this type of connection is also possible for you. And it might look a little different depending on your unique circumstances, but it's very possible. One way to find meaningful connections and to build them up is by finding common interests. This is something we practice a lot in my workshops because finding common interests is a great way to establish a meaningful connection pretty quickly. So one way you can do this is think about your hobbies and interests, right? Kind of brainstorm them. Anything from photography, gaming, volunteering, to bird watching. Knowing your interests helps you connect with someone who shares them. And keeping those interests in mind, you can go to activities that revolve around your interests. You can sign up for groups. You can sign up for an art class if you're really into art. And that'll give you kind of a head start on finding a common interest with someone. If you approach someone who's attending the same program as you, odds are they're also interested in what that program is about. So even on dates, right? If you're going on a date with someone, you can also tie your interest into the conversation. And this is a way to see if you have things in common. And if you didn't bring it up in conversation, you might be missing out on finding some activities that you would enjoy together. Um, so for an example, let's pretend that you really enjoy bird watching. So a way that you can incorporate this to a date would be asking someone to come to a local park with you to go bird watching, and doing hobbies like this together and putting yourself out there to participate in these types of activities can really help strengthen your bond with someone. And keep in mind that dating doesn't automatically lead to a meaningful connection. Um, dating's kind of like a story, right? You take it one chapter at a time, it's going to start unfolding. And each dating experience is a step in discovering if you can build this type of meaningful connection with that person. If you're spending time with someone who makes you feel uncomfortable, or if they're not kind to you, you shouldn't necessarily pursue them in an attempt to form a meaningful connection. So remember, not every relationship will turn into something deeper, but it's all part of finding the right person who truly fits you. And finally, the last thing I want to touch on for young adults is remember that creating a meaningful connection isn't just about finding the right person, but it's also about being the right person, right? So working on yourself, like improving your self-confidence and improving your conversation skills can help you become a better partner in the future. So even if you're not dating right now, it's never too early to start building up these skills at home. So when you're ready to approach dating, if you haven't already, you'll feel more prepared to do so, and have more success doing so. When you're comfortable with who you are, you're more likely to build a healthy and meaningful connection. So now that you have some strategies that you can try at home to build up your confidence, your communication skills, and help you develop meaningful connections, we're going to shift gears and discuss ways that you, the parent or the guardian, if you're watching, can support your adult child in dating. So it's really, really important to me in my workshops to include parents or guardians in what we're learning. And this is because you can reinforce it at home. You can provide that extra support and encouragement at home. So in this section, we'll discuss some common misconceptions about autism and dating, and the importance of open communication between family and young adults regarding dating, as well as some strategies that families can use to support their young adults who are interested in dating, or who are already well into their dating journey. So I want to start by just briefly touching on some common misconceptions in dating for adults with autism. Unfortunately, as we know, there are a lot of misconceptions out there that stem from a lack of understanding about autism and the different ways that it could present. So I think addressing these misconceptions is really important to fostering a more inclusive and understanding environment. So I'll just name a few of those misconceptions briefly. And while I'm sharing them, I would like you to reflect on if you've ever encountered any of these misconceptions and how they may affect the lack of resources for supporting autistic individuals in dating. So here are, we'll just briefly touch on two of the most common ones I've heard. So a big one I heard is autistic individuals don't have an interest in dating or relationships. So this seems to be one of the most widespread myths, is that autistic adults are not interested in romantic relationships, when in reality, as many of us know, many autistic individuals do desire and pursue romantic relationships, just like neurotypical individuals. Even if the relationships can look a little different, they're still interested in them and they're still deserving of love and connection, and they're pursuing that. And the second big misconception that I hear is that autistic individuals lack empathy or emotional depth, and this is just simply not true. So this is a big misconception that autistic adults are unable to form deep emotional connections or empathize with others. And while some autistic individuals may process and express emotions differently, it doesn't mean that you lack emotional depth or empathy. In fact, many are deeply empathetic and capable of forming strong emotional bonds. So, this is another harmful misconception. And it's kind of similar to another myth that autistic adults um, don't understand love or can't express love. And this tends to stem from those stereotypes about social and communication challenges in autism. So, while some autistic individuals may communicate differently, they can and they do express love and affection, often in unique and deeply meaningful ways. So I'm wondering, did any of these misconceptions resonate with you? Or these things that you've heard in the past, or have you had to face any comments like this about you or your loved one in the past or currently? Understanding and challenging these types of misconceptions, I think, is really important in creating a more supportive environment for autistic individuals in the realm of dating and relationships. So it's important to recognize and respect the individuality and unique experiences of each person on the autism spectrum. So, as parents and guardians, you play a very important role in your child's life well into adulthood. And one of the ways that you can support them in dating is by creating an environment that really nurtures open communication. And as family members, it's important to have honest, non judgmental conversations with your loved ones about dating. So, this includes things like discussing their desires, their boundaries, and any concerns that they might have. And you can also encourage your loved ones to express themselves and their feelings about dating. It's okay if they're not ready or if they're still figuring things out. The important thing is that they know that they have your support and your understanding. And when it comes to dating, of course, every autistic individual's experience is going to be unique to them. And some might be enthusiastic about dating, some might feel apprehensive. And as family, you can be there to support them by listening, to offer advice when asked for advice, and respecting their autonomy and decisions. So really, it's good to be that support system that empowers them to make their own choices. It's really about guiding them, right? We're not controlling their dating, but we're guiding them and just offering support if needed and as needed. Um, of course, if safety is a primary concern, this will look a little different. But again, we know autism is such a spectrum that our approach to dating should line up with their specific strengths and needs, not just a generalized approach. So, as we kind of dive deeper into how you can support your autistic young adults in the world of dating, let's think about this journey as kind of a blend of understanding and patience and really finding that balance of support and independence. So, very briefly, I wanted to touch on safety because this is a concern that many parents have shared with me over the last year and a half since I started the dating workshop. Um, so, as a parent or a guardian, have you ever worried about your child's safety as they start dating? Is this a concern that you have? Because, as I said, it's a very common one that I hear. And while we can't cover this in depth today, it is really important to consider your child's awareness and independence level regarding safety. So in our workshops, of course, we cover safety extensively from, online interactions to meeting new people. But your role in supporting your child is really going to vary based on their strengths and the areas of support that they might need. So, for example, some may need a chaperone on a date. Others can plan a date independently and go to that date independently. So think about, what does safety look like for your young adult in dating? And of course, we have to keep in mind that the way you support your loved one in dating should always factor in these safety considerations. And again, there's never a one size fits all approach for this. Um, so now that we briefly touched on safety, let's look at your kind of like your fundamental role in dating. So I like to kind of compare it to riding a bike, right? When you're teaching a young child to ride a bike, you're there alongside them. You're ready to offer a hand if they need it, but ultimately they are the one riding the bike, right? So let's think about, how can you be there for them emotionally, offering guidance, being a listening ear, while still respecting their independence. So one way that I recommend is by creating a safe space for open conversations about dating. To do this, I really encourage you to establish regular, comfortable opportunities for discussions about dating. So this might look like a set time each week that you check in and talk about dating, or maybe you just give your child an open invitation that whenever they feel the need, they can come to you and have these conversations about dating. And this can really strengthen your relationship and provide a platform for your loved one to share their feelings and their experiences. And while we're on the topic of creating a safe space for your child regarding dating, let's also incorporate the importance of respecting boundaries within these conversations. So this is a delicate area, since every individual has their own comfort level while sharing personal aspects of their lives with their parents. So some might welcome open discussions about their dating experiences, and others might prefer to keep their details a little more private. So navigating this with sensitivity, respecting their preferences, and ensuring that they feel their privacy is valued is a cornerstone of trust and understanding in your relationship. It may also be important to do this because it can encourage them to open up more over time as well. So if they know you're not prying, right, and trying to get that information out when they're not ready to share it, they'll be more likely to open up to you when they have something that they want to share with you. So again, this approach might be a little different depending on your child's unique needs. Um, and another crucial role that you play as a parent or a guardian is encouraging their independence and self advocacy in dating, speaking up for themselves. So, how can you empower your young adult to make their own choices in dating, from who to date to expressing their needs and their boundaries? So, here's a practical tool for you. And I recommend jotting this down in case you want to practice this at home. So this is role playing. And I mentioned it earlier with the active listening strategy as well. I use role playing often in my dating workshops, and I've seen firsthand how helpful it can be for young adults with autism. So it's really a safe way to simulate dating scenarios, helping them refine their communication skills and build confidence. So, for example, you can role play how your child would express themselves if they were uncomfortable with something their date said. You can role play how they might share their feelings and tell someone that they like them. And there are a ton of benefits to this strategy. So, firstly, it gives a safe space to experiment with their communication skills without the pressure of real world consequences. It also gives kind of a clearer understanding of how to assert their needs and boundaries in a respectful yet confident manner, because it'll be kind of planned ahead of time and they'll already feel prepared and they'll know how to handle the situation. And this understanding is really important in ensuring that they feel heard and respected when they start dating, and that they can feel confident to speak up for themselves when needed. Um, the role playing strategy is also important for confidence, which again, confidence is so important, especially when starting to date. So when your young adult practices these scenarios and role plays these scenarios, and they see themselves successfully navigate a conversation or standing up for their preferences, it really reinforces beliefs in their own abilities. So this self-belief is really a key component of confidence. Um, and with each successful role play, they're more likely to feel ready to handle these situations as they arrive in real life. And this can really reduce anxiety if your young adult struggles with anxiety and increase the likelihood of them expressing themselves assertively and respectfully in actual dating scenarios. So again, I highly recommend using the role playing strategy. And um, remember, the goal isn't when we're supporting your loved ones in dating, the goal isn't to make dating decisions for them, but it's to guide them towards making their own informed decisions. It's respecting their autonomy while providing the support that they need to navigate the dating world confidently. So using the strategies that we just discussed is really a great step towards helping your young adult without taking away their independence or being, overly intrusive. Um, and as we continue our conversation, I recognize that there's a lot of information we're covering today. And I'm sure it can feel overwhelming, especially if this is a new stage in your child's life. I've spoken personally to many parents who find themselves unsure about the best ways to support their child in dating, which is one of the reasons that I started the dating workshop at Victoria's Educational Services. It's really my goal to be a resource for families like yours so that you don't have to navigate this alone. There's also a ton of tools available, of course, from books for online forums to even specialized workshops like the ones we offer. And these resources offer valuable insights and practical strategies for navigating the dating scene. So, by encouraging your loved one to make use of these resources, you're helping them gain that knowledge and build confidence while also supporting yourself in this new chapter of your family's journey. And speaking of resources, early in the presentation, I mentioned the importance of a strategy called active listening. And I defined it and I discussed how it's helpful in dating and building confidence. I also included a free PDF that you can access with this presentation. And this provides step by step instructions to practice the skill at home with your loved one. So I really encourage you to look over that resource and practice it at home with your young adult. And again, this is one of those active listening is one of those skills that you really need to keep practicing it in order to see improvement. So we practice this multiple times in the workshop, even in my social groups, because of how important it is. And I encourage you to do the same thing at home. So make sure you get that free resource. And before we wrap up, because we are getting close to 7 o'clock already, I think it's important to mention that another role that you play in supporting your young adult is by helping them recognize and celebrate their own progress in dating and in relationships. So it's really easy to focus on the end result, right, of finding a partner. But every step that they take towards understanding themselves and others in the context of dating, no matter how big or small, it is a victory. I did see that someone just asked where they can find that resource. So again, you can find that resource. It should be emailed to you right after this presentation. So you can also, going back to what I was saying, you can celebrate their bravery and putting themselves out there, their resilience in handling disappointments, and their growth in understanding their own emotions and their needs. Finally, like I said earlier, common interests are very important, and you can encourage your young adult to engage in activities that they enjoy, signing up for any classes that they're interested in, group activities, and this can be like a natural setting for them to meet potential partners who share interests. because I do get a lot of parents and students asking me, where can my child meet someone to date, right? And a great place to meet these people is at an event that they're really interested in attending, because the odds are someone else there will have those same interests and they can strike up a conversation with them about whatever topic they're doing. So if it's an art class, they can talk about art. If it's a group cooking class, they can talk about that. And that's another way that they can practice some of these skills that we've been learning about. Um, Finally, I really encourage you to think about the power of modeling healthy relationships in your own life. So, how you interact with your partner, your friends, even your young adult, can provide them with real life, like a real life template, I would say, of what respectful and caring interactions look like. So, I always say, try to lead by example the best you can. Um, and remember, your journey with your young adult as they navigate dating is as much about your growth as it is theirs, right? It's a journey that can really deepen your relationship and it can enrich both of your lives. So, as we wrap up our time together, I just want to take a moment to kind of reflect on the key points that we've discussed today. So, of course, we started by understanding some of the nuances of dating, especially for young adults with autism. We emphasized the importance of self confidence, effective communication, and building meaningful connections. And these are all crucial elements towards building a fulfilling dating life, and building blocks for more specific dating skills, such as asking someone on a date or starting a conversation with someone you like. So then we shifted our focus to you, the parents and guardians. We talked about some common misconceptions about dating and adults with autism. We explored how you can provide non intrusive support, encouraging independence and self advocacy in your young adults. We talked about the delicate balance of offering guidance while still respecting their autonomy and their privacy, and the critical role that you play in creating a supportive environment for their dating journey. And again, I understand that all of this might be a lot to take in, especially if this is a new chapter for you and your young adult. And that's why I'm excited about sharing that free resource with you, with those concrete steps that you can take to practice that key communication skill, active listening, with your young adult at home. This is an important skill that will not only help them with dating, but really in all social aspects of their lives. So keep an eye out for that in your email. If you registered for this event, you should get it in an email, and it'll be a valuable tool to revisit some of the concepts that we discussed today. I'll also share it on the Victoria's Educational Services Facebook page, which I encourage you to follow if you want to stay up to date on all of our services and the tips that we provide. I also wanted to just take a second to extend my gratitude to Include NYC and all of you for your active participation and engagement. I saw as I was speaking, I was seeing those comments pop up, and I'm so glad that you were so involved in the presentation. And I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions in just a second here. Your presence and your willingness to learn and to grow with your young adults is really what makes these workshops so incredibly rewarding for me. So thank you for that. If you or your loved one would benefit from additional support, or if you want to learn more about any of the programs we offer, the dating programs, there is a link at the bottom of that PDF freebie that you'll be getting. And that link will take you to our dating workshop relaunch interest form. It's just an interest form, it's a brief survey. And if you complete that interest form, you'll be contacted as soon as we release more information about our dating program and how it can help you or your young adult. And you can also find this link on our Victoria's Educational Services Facebook page. So we've heard from many young adults how difficult it is to help their young adult navigate the dating world. So we're really here to support you and your young adult on this journey. So now I'm just going to look at some of the questions that we have. and see what I can answer for you. We're getting a lot of nice comments. Thank you, everyone, for your nice comments that you're posting. I really appreciate it. All right, I do see a comment. It's not a question, but it does say this is important to touch on briefly. Someone shared that they had a friend who asserted boundaries with them, but it was very abusive and demeaning, and they're no longer friends. And I would say that that is not the right way to share a boundary. So if it's something that's abusive or harsh, that's not a boundary. Sharing a boundary is just simply saying, I'm not comfortable with this. If you keep doing this, I'll have to leave. And it's really made to protect you, protect your energy, right? To keep you feeling safe and comfortable. So if anyone's ever doing that in an aggressive way, I think it would be a good choice, whether it's a friend or a significant other, or someone you're dating. I would say it's better off to stay away from that. Learn how to share, and I have done workshops on how to share healthy boundaries, and that means that it's not an abusive boundary, right? It's not someone like taking advantage of a situation or being manipulative by calling it a boundary when it's really just them not being nice to you, right? So that's a little bit different. We have another question. At what age can a young adult attend your workshops? Good question. Okay, so in the past, in my dating workshop, I started in July 2022, and we were meeting weekly for the last year and a half. And we are taking a break, and I'm relaunching it in early 2024. So in the past, the age was 18 to 30. And most of our participants, I would say, wound up being anywhere from 18 to mostly like around 25. So we had a little bit of an age gap, but it worked out very well. The reason I bring up the relaunch of the workshop is because I haven't announced the official age group yet. But that's where you come in. So when you get the free resource, that PDF about active listening, at the bottom of that, you'll get the dating workshop survey. If you click it, you can share your child's age and all of this stuff so that I can make sure I'm building my new workshop to meet your needs. Okay, so it might be a similar thing where it's 18 to 30. I might narrow that window a little bit. So please fill out that survey so that I can take that information and make sure that I'm designing this in a way that would really benefit the most people. When is the next speed dating event? Oh, that's a good question. So there was one back in January 2023. And then I had one that was supposed to take place, I believe, towards the end of October. We postponed it, waiting for a few more girls to register, which is very common with the speed dating event. Usually it takes the men's spots sell out right away, and then the women's spots take a little longer. So it is postponed. I am currently planning the date for it. It's tricky with the holidays coming up now that we're getting, we just started December today. So it will most likely be I would say within the next 2 months. People have been so patient with this, and we had such great results in the first speed dating event in 2023. That was the one where Nick met his now girlfriend. We had a couple of romantic matches, a couple of friendship matches. So I'm very excited about having that speed dating event. Unfortunately, all of the men's spots are sold out. We do still have a couple of spots left for women. This one was for 2 different age groups. We had 18 to 29. So if you are a woman ages 18 to 29, you're interested in speed dating, let me know, send me an email. It's on that free resource you'll get. It'll have my contact information. And we also had a few spots left in the 30 to 49 age group. for women. Okay, so if you're a man, I'm so sorry, the spots are all sold out. But if you're a woman, you still have an opportunity to attend. It is not too late, and I'm picking the new date very soon. Um, all right, let me see. We have a lot of good comments.
And just while you're looking through, I'm just going to launch our evaluation poll. So if anyone could stay and fill that out, that would be awesome. But I will let you continue.
Oh, thank you. Oh, we did get another comment. Let me see. Someone shared that they always worry I'll accidentally come off as creepy, get really anxious around women that I'm attracted to. This is a very common concern. Um, and it is something I cover in the dating workshop is how to approach someone you're interested in. Um, for lack of a better term, without coming across as creepy, right? So that is something that once you learn how to do that, you won't feel as anxious when you're around women you're attracted to because you'll have that skill. You'll be confident in the fact that you can use that skill, right? If you're role playing it and you're practicing at home or with a friend, you'll be more confident when it comes to that situation. So I do also teach that. If we had a whole nother hour, I would love to teach that to you. But it is built into my dating workshop. Um, that is a very common concern. All right. Um, we had a question about where I'm from and my name, Victoria Bennett. I am from Staten Island, New York, and I hold my workshops in Staten Island, New York. I am working on eventually, I would love to at least virtually expand my services to the rest of New York City because I know that there are a lot of people in New York City who are looking for dating support for their loved ones or even for themselves. So I am trying to expand. It'll take some time, but eventually I'll offer some online classes as well to make sure I can reach as many people as possible and help everyone out. All right. I think, let me see if we got any more while I was scrolling, but that might be it. Oh, yeah. Is the workshop on Zoom as well at some point, or what are the details on that? And are there, oh, we have a couple good ones. Okay. Um, the workshop is in person. Well, if you're asking about the dating workshop, it's in person. It's on Staten Island, like I said. Once I pick the after a lot of people finish up that survey, and once I announce all of the details of the relaunch of the workshop, I will share the location. And we also had a question, are there going to be coaches nearby at the speed dating event? So for the speed dating event, I have trained volunteers. Again, my background is in teaching students with disabilities, so that is my specialty. And I train the people who are coming so that they can offer the support in the same way that I would. So if anyone feels anxious or if anyone's having a tough time, we will come right over and help you. The good thing about the speed dating event is it's at a nice personal venue. It's at Beans and Leaves Cafe on the South Shore of Staten Island. And it's a great location because it's not too overwhelming. It's not a giant crowded space. It's a really nice setup in there. So it's a smaller environment. You won't get lost in the shuffle. So if you're struggling, we'll see you, we'll come help you out. Whether it's just filling out the speed dating form that you need help with, or if you feel nervous and just need someone to vent to for a second, we're there for you. So there will be, I don't know if I would say coaches, but there will be support at the speed dating event. And we had that in January of 2023 as well. It was the same setup and it worked out so well. We had a lot of great feedback. So that's why I'm doing it the same way again this time around. Is it too late to enter the speed dating event? So it is not too late. for women to enter the speed dating event. It is men's spots, unfortunately, like I said, are sold out. But if you are a woman with a developmental disability or an intellectual disability and you would like to attend the speed dating event, make sure you send me an email, let me know, and I'll give you the information on how to register. And again, when you get that free PDF resource in your email from Include NYC, that will have my contact information at the bottom of it. So you'll be able to reach out to me directly. And if you want to register someone, just let me know. I'll give you all of the information. Okay. I think one more question. When is your next event? So like I was saying, the speed dating event is currently being rescheduled. We were waiting for a few more women to register. So I will announce the new speed dating date shortly. So I can't announce it right now, but after the holidays, that's when I'll be sharing that information. And I'm really excited to reschedule that event again because of the great results we had from the first event back in January. So I'm very excited about that. But again, the men's spots are sold out. This event was, I do it about once a year. The men's spots always sell out pretty much immediately. So it's very high demand and it takes a little bit longer to get the woman to register. So there are no men's spots left. We do have a wait list. It is a very long wait list for men who would like to join, but you can still fill out our interest form. Again, on that free PDF, you'll get my contact information. If you email me, I can send you our interest form. And it's also on all of our social media pages, our Instagram and Facebook. Okay, so I think that's it for the questions. So I think we're all done for this evening.
Yes, thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us tonight and all your wisdom. I can see all the sentiments in the chat as well. But I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening and have a wonderful night.